Hey, welcome back to the Pet Food Puzzle Guy. If you're new, please check out a few of the other videos, kind of get an idea of what we do here. But we call ourselves the Nutrition Mission because our mission is to bring the discussion of nutrients back into the discussion of pet food and pet nutrition because it's been lost and we're going to bring it back. So I hope you stick around. This video is going to be a little different. I've often said that the folks that are regulars, I'd say fans, but fans of the channel or regulars that contribute to the channel, really smart folks, and they contribute so much. And sometimes the comment sections you can really learn a lot from if you read through those. I tend to be a comment person. I need to read the comments on stuff, but you're missing out if you don't read those comments. And sometimes the discussions and the dialogue are really great. And I thought what I might try doing is choosing comments now and then I think are really great. Not that the person agrees with me, maybe that they may not agree with me, but they generate a lot of good dialogue and a lot of things that I'd want to share. So this is going to be the first one of this. So I don't think I'd call it a Q&A. This is more of responding to comments video. Maybe I'll have to set up a playlist for that. But this is the very first one, and it's because I got a comment today, and I was ready to respond, and then Ed, our resident home cook feline advocate out there, he responded saying, "Oh, this should bring some good dialogue." And I thought, you know, Ed, you're right. And why have people miss it? Let's turn it into a video. So this is going to be a video on a comment. Chef Bus is kind of his code name. I'm just going to call him the chef. And this way we can identify him as that. I'm assuming it's a guy. I don't know, but we're going to go with a male chef here. And so let's go ahead and we're going to get started. Listen to his comments, and then I want to respond to them because I think his comments are really useful. I'm not going to say I agree with everything he's saying, but it is useful for dialogue. And that's the whole reason we're here, to learn from each other and dialogue. So let's do it. Okay, so here's from the chef. My large breed dog has been eating home cooked food only since she was 10 weeks old. A 2 week adjustment from when we got her at 8 weeks old. He doesn't say how old the dog is now, though. This is the healthiest dog I have ever seen in my life. Yes, it has taken a lot, puts that in capitals, a lot of research. That is where I thought you could come in, guess meaning me. I had subscribed to your channel thinking you might help people like me. It should not take hours and hours of research or paying a veterinary nutritionist to feed a healthy pet. We do not consult a nutritionist to feed our own children. We get guidelines and work to balance over time. So this is that concept of, you know, you have an unbalanced diet today, but tomorrow you have another unbalanced diet, and together they kind of even out to be balanced. It's kind of weird thought, but I get the idea of, if you really think it through, unbalanced and unbalanced, add a few more days of unbalanced, all in different ways. Somehow they magically work out to be a balanced diet. But I digress. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I found that I had to unsubscribe every time I watched one of your videos. All I could think was, he drank the Kool-Aid. I'm sure there's plenty of folks out there, chef, that feel the same way. I'm just a shill for Hills and corporate America and all that. If the large commercial companies really cared about the pets and their owners, they would get the clinical evidence to either say their food is better than homemade or start supplying guidelines for people to cook for their healthy pets. Definitely need to touch on that one. Most people will choose the pre-made and might change brands based on the company actually caring about the pets. Definitely something I want to talk about with that one. Let's go on to finish up here. By the way, many of the deficiencies that Dr. M mentioned, choline, zinc, etc., can be solved with the simple addition of eggs. Eggs are nutrient bombs, everything in there to grow a chick from scratch, no additions needed. And that's where he ends. So let's go ahead and go back to the beginning and go through what the chef said, and let me try to give you some insight from my perspective. My large breed dog has been eating home cooked food only since she was 10 weeks old. This is the healthiest dog I've ever seen in my life. Let's stop right there. That Though I appreciate everybody that shares that when they say I've fed raw, I fed this, or I fed kibbles and bits to all my dogs and they all lived to be 19 and they all thrived, blah, blah, blah. This is very common. We all say this and we all want to say what I did is amazing and everybody should do this. Chef, I can tell you there's plenty of people that are going to watch this, and I'm sure many will respond saying, well, I tried home cooked and my dog just did terrible. I finally gave up, went and bought a commercial food, and the diarrhea cleared up or this cleared up and they're thriving. So it's very anecdotal. Everybody, I don't care what form or what diet, commercial, whatever that you've done out there, there's been dogs that have thrived on it, and we can include cats in that as well. And there's been others that was just the total opposite. So when I hear that, it's great it worked for you. Really, I'm happy, but it really doesn't weigh a lot because everybody that has done every form of feeding their pet, they could find people that have said, wow, this was perfect for my pet. I'm glad it worked for you. You didn't say how old your dog is, so I'm assuming it's been a while. Now it's funny, you said a large breed puppy. You started a large breed puppy at 8 weeks old on home cooking. Most veterinarians, and I'm going to include myself just as somebody that worked with vets and I think the way they do, I would be a little nervous with a large breed home cooking because of the rapid growth rate, the panosteitis, all the issues that happen with trying to control fat levels and calcium levels to reduce that rapid growth rate in large breed puppies. So, yes, it has taken a lot of research. And again, a lot is in capital letters. Um, this is where I thought you could come in. I had subscribed to your channel thinking you might help people like me. It should not take hours and hours of research or paying a veterinary nutritionist to feed a healthy pet. So let's stop there. And I think this is kind of important. You need to do a lot of research now. Why is it that you have to do so much research? Um, I think the problem isn't that you have to do so much research. It's that there's so much misinformation. There's so much information out there, and partly it's due to the internet. Let's be real. The internet's there. You can go find all kinds of information. Uh, Dr. Remillard, she has her own nutrition. She's a board certified nutritionist, has her own company and all. I think she may have worked for Hills years ago, or Hills used a lot of her research because I remember her name back when I was a young buck back in the late 80s. I just remember her name a lot. And she said back when the internet first hit, I've said this before, she spends more time during the day debunking bad information than sharing good information. And that was, again, the internet was brand new. I know that sounds weird to some of you. But there was a time when there was no internet. And so what was she saying? When the internet came, all this misinformation came. All these people that had no credentials, had just had wacky ideas came in. And here we are, 2025 now. And if you're a pet parent and you go to social media, I would say 90% of the information you're getting is coming from people that have absolutely no business talking nutrition. They have no credentials. They have no real training, just like Dr. M did in the video series. I just finished the 3 videos she did. They call themselves nutritionists, and they're out there, and all it does is really confuse pet parents that are trying to do their best. And they're going to the vet, and the vet's telling them one thing and recommending a food, and then they're going online and finding out that food is going to kill their pet. And the vet is either an idiot or is just greedy, whatever. So I understand what the chef is saying here. The problem is you're trying to do research, and most of the information you can get is bogus. And now, when I was a Hills rep, I went to a lot of conferences. I had lectures from the nutritionists making the diets, all that. So yeah, I don't know where you go. There could be, and if you're a subscriber, please share. If there's some good places to go to get some good resources from reputable board certified nutritionists, by all means, let's share that amongst ourselves. But the problem is you have that mixed in with the Forever Dog and Dr. Judy and all these people out there just spewing all kinds of stuff, and you're stuck in the middle. So it shouldn't take a lot of research, but I think mainly the problem is the pet food industry has become so big, so huge. There's so much money involved. Everybody and their brother now is coming in, making a new food and spewing all kinds of marketing, species appropriate. Your dog's a wolf. Kibble's bad. Carbs are going to kill your pet. This causes cancer. On and on and on. So where do you go to research to actually get good information? Very difficult these days versus back in even the 90s. So I understand. I feel for him. Subscribing to my channel because I'm going to help. Just like this last video, which I think is the one he's connected to here, home cooking. Home cooking is wonderful if you want to do it. Just get a board certified nutritionist to give you a healthy recipe. But there are a lot of dangers and risks involved. And like Dr. M said at the end of her video, what was it? 87% of the folks that had a good solid recipe from a board certified nutritionist, 87% within the first year were off doing whatever. Okay. So for me, that's why I'm not a big fan of home cooking unless you're going to do it right. That's why I like commercially prepared foods. We do not consult a nutritionist to feed our children. We get guidelines and work to balance over time. And this is a very common concept that, who gets a perfectly balanced diet every day? None of us, right? I mean, I'd hate to really see a nutrient profile of my daily nutrient intake. And, I have 8 grandkids, and I've shared this before, and I'll share it again because I think it's a great example. I have 8 grandkids from 14 down to 2, I think. One of my grandchildren, she actually has her birthday today. Averly turns 9. No, I think it's 10. Ooh, that's terrible, grandpa. Either 9 or 10. But anyway, she is a special needs little girl. She's nonverbal. Um, they said she wouldn't be able to walk, but she proved them wrong. But she eats through a G tube. She can't eat through her mouth. She eats a package of food about 3 or 4 times a day, and that is her total nutrient composition. Whatever she's going to get in her body comes in that ultra processed food. If I was to put that diet that Averly's on against my other 7 grandchildren, I guarantee she's on a much more balanced diet than the rest of them. And they're all eating human grade, mama's cooking it or dad's cooking it, whatever. And that's the point that, well, if we can provide our dogs and cats with optimal nutrition, why would we not do that? And that's what good companies, not all kibble companies, I don't want to call them kibble companies, not all pet food companies, whether they make canned or kibble or air dried, whatever, frozen, are they delivering optimal nutrients? And that's what a good commercial, I call it commercial food can do. Somebody called on one of my comments, oh, it's all industrial food. And I thought, boy, there's a new buzzword. I could see Dr. Becker, Dr. Judy jumping on that one. Let's call it industrial food. That sounds even worse than commercial food. So probably going to start seeing that out there now because I threw it out there. But we don't consult a nutritionist when it comes to feeding our kids. We don't. I mean, my wife did her best, I'm sure. And nowadays, I mean, the lifestyles of young families now, as far as their kids, I mean, it's tough. There's a lot of processed food going in our kids. And again, human processed, I've shared videos on this, is totally different than pet food processed. It's all the purpose. Averly's on an ultra processed food, and it's the only thing that's kept her alive for the last 9 years. So just because it's processed, the question should be, what's the purpose of that diet? If it's just to make a yummy food with lots of fat and salt and preservatives and all kinds of garbage, but it tastes so good, that's one thing. And I love that stuff, by the way, versus something that's ultra processed to deliver optimal nutrients for my granddaughter or for my dog. That's a whole different story. Okay, I found that I had to unsubscribe every time I watched one of your videos. All I could think was he drank the Kool-Aid. Again, I think it's really funny. I guess he watches a video, subscribes, or I don't know, he subscribed and then watched the video and got mad and unsubscribed. I don't know, that's kind of funny. But anyway, I hope he's still out there listening since I'm featuring him now. Have I drank the Kool-Aid? I think, and I did a video on bias, and there's no such thing as unbiased. As soon as you get involved in a topic, especially that you're passionate about, you're going to start shaping an opinion based on your life experience, based on who you're following, who you're listening to, what your experience has been. So when somebody tells you they're unbiased, they're either lying or they're missing the point of what bias is. So I have totally drank the Kool-Aid, and the flavor that I've chosen to drink and and consume daily is that board certified nutritionist with hours and hours of training and years of training and millions of dollars worth of research, and most likely the most important thing, like I always say, because I was a veterinary rep in the clinics every day for 34 years, I saw the results of all that in lives being changed and saved and all. Yes, I have drank the Kool-Aid that those big three, Purina, Hills, and Royal Canin, they're the leaders. They're the people I go to first. And the other, what did we say? 80% of the board certified nutritionists out there are not employed by those three. I'm listening to them as well. If the 80% out there that are independent researchers said, "Hey, those big three, they're just nothing but corporate hacks and they don't do things right and they're just using fillers and all this other stuff," but that isn't the case. The consensus is that, hey, those big three are doing it right, and we're learning lots and lots from them. Um, so I just it's so funny that he drinking the Kool-Aid. What Kool-Aid has the chef drank? He's definitely drank Kool-Aid because he has a bias for sure that these big companies don't care. And listen to the next thing he says here. Um, if the large companies, oh, somebody just commented. Sorry, just popped up on my screen there. um, if the large commercial companies really cared about the pets and their owners, they would get the clinical evidence to either say their food is better than homemade or start supplying guidelines for people to cook for their healthy pets. Now, I've already explained why veterinarians and why Hills, and I'm sure Royal Canin and Purina feel the same way. They're not going to provide guidelines for how to feed your pet. But I will say there's plenty, Dr. Remelard's one, that there's plenty of people out there that can do that. Balance It is one I've heard of. I haven't gone to there, but it sounds like they're really reputable. Tufts Veterinary School, I think, sends out a lot of different stuff. So the resources are there. So, Chef, I don't buy it that you can't find that stuff if you want, but you're not going to get it from the big three because for the reasons I just said. And most vets aren't going to really support that idea. They'd rather see your pet on a diet that they know exactly what your pet is getting. They can monitor it. They can watch the blood values and see how that's matching up with the food. You start home cooking, and I guess I'm talking therapeutic here. I guess you might be talking wellness. Wellness is, of course, a lot different, but it's just the same thing. Vets like the fact that they know what your pet is getting versus what you're at home doing. So you're not going to get this is what you should do if you're going to home feed, not from these companies. Now you're going to say, well, it's because they're profit driven and they just want to sell food, so they're not going to tell you how you can feed your pet at home healthy. I guess that's one perspective if you want to take that, but I gave you some real valid reasons as to why they don't really want to do that. Because just like Dr. M said, 87% of the folks aren't going to do it anyway. So that's not helping the pet. What else did he say? There was something else they would get clinical evidence. Now, you can't get clinical evidence to say this commercial food, science diet adult versus home cooked, because you can't, it's not even apples to oranges. It's apples to again, it's too mushy. We don't know what it is that the person's going to feed. When you say home cooked what? I mean, Hills could definitely say, here's science diet adult, here's our home cooked recipe we are recommending, and guess what? When you feed both of them, the nutrient levels are identical. You got it. You're good. Go for it. But you can't just say that, oh, home cooked, they're going to follow that one recipe. They're going to follow all kinds of recipes. You got Dr. Judy out there selling her pup loaf with, I mean, there's just like, it's open season. It's the Wild West. That's why health professionals don't like home cooking for that purpose. So no, you're not going to get support from the veterinary world to do it that way. Now, it is kind of funny when they would get clinical evidence to say their food is better. My God, there's 75 years and reams of studies on protein levels, on phosphorus, on omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids, on mineral content, on phosphorus. I could go on and on and on. All that information that's available to these board certified nutritionists, most of them came up with the research themselves. Hills provided tons of that. So did Royal Canin. I mean, again, I could go back to the 70s when Royal Canin and Hills were working on large breed puppy, trying to figure out the rapid growth rate and all. There's so much clinical evidence. I understand as a pet parent, you don't see that. You don't see that world. I get it. So anyway, as far as is there evidence, that's almost an absurd statement. There is so much. Now, to be fair to the chef, he's a chef. He's not a pet food guy. Um, when you listen to the social media professionals, scratch that. Maybe I should cut that out of the video. The social media celebrities, even the veterinarians that go out there and tell you that therapeutic nutrition, that those diets are just garbage, you wouldn't feed them in a million years, all this other stuff. You're the pet parent hearing that. You have nothing to base that on. They make it sound convincing. Oh, they're big corporations. They're just out to harm your pets. So I understand where the chef's coming from. That's why I have my channel. That's why Dr. Ray has her channel. That's why Dr. M has her channel. Okay, there's not that many. Skep Vet, SKEP, Skep Vet, another awesome veterinarian out there preaching the truth, and you need to check him out. Most people will choose the pre-made and might change brands based on the company actually caring about the pets. So if you care about the company, or do you understand the company cares about pets, you're going to feed that food. Well, I tried to think about that a little bit. I'll try to be cynical here. Okay, every company out there making pet food right now is profit driven. I don't care if it's the little tiny mom and pop, if you want to call it that, pet food company that just got started and it's all family run and isn't that nice and all this other stuff, and they buy meat down the farm at Joe Blow's farm and do all this other stuff, or it's this huge corporation like Colgate Palmolive that owns Hills Pet Nutrition. They're all profit driven. They all have to make money. Does the mom and pop company care more about pets than the huge Hills Pet Nutrition, which isn't that huge? We could use Purina and Royal Canin are a lot bigger, but you get my point. Okay, I don't know I don't know people's hearts. Okay, so I can't tell you what their main motivation is. I can tell you from my experience at Hills that I knew many of the nutritionists that I was trained by. I knew they had pets. I knew their passion for the diets that they had put their names on, that they had done the research. So of course that all sold me on these people are awesome. Okay, so you don't have to believe that from me. Oh, weren't these people great? Okay. I tend to look at, show me the results of that company. What's the purpose of that company? Um, I'm sure the food companies that I rail against on this channel, uh, Farmer's Dog, Ollie, Nom Nom, Taste of the Wild, Blue Buffalo, I could go on, and I don't like any of those companies. But why? I look at their marketing and I see how deceitful and just all the misinformation they use to sell their food. I think it's harmful. I look at their nutrient levels and I think their nutrient levels stink, to be honest. Okay. My opinion, based on what I understand about nutrition, based on small animal clinical nutrition, nutrient ranges. But do I really believe those people don't love animals and that's not part of what drives them to do what they do? I'm not going to be that cynical. I could be a pretty negative, cynical guy, but I got to believe they really do believe they have a great product and they're out there passionately selling it. They just have bought into all the marketing gurus out there, done a great job brainwashing these people, and this is what you get. Okay, um, so again, I just assume everybody cares because I know the Hills people cared. Now, I didn't rub elbows with the big CEOs and all the financial guys. I was down there with the nutrition people. But again, I can tell you the scientists at Hills and the research facility are about as passionate as you can get. But again, you don't have to believe me on that. Believe me on what are they producing? A company that's producing awesome products that save a lot of lives and improve lives. I hope they care, but I don't. I guess I don't really care as long as they're producing something really great. When a company, it's family owned and they care so much and all this other stuff, and then I look at their nutritional composition and it's like, well, this is very unhealthy. I still can believe they care. They just don't know enough. They're not experts. They just got caught up in this thing. I love animals. It's kind of like kids when they say, "I love animals. I want to be a veterinarian." Oh my goodness, do you understand what a veterinarian, what that entails? Okay, just because you love animals, I know you civilians that have never worked in a vet clinic. Oh, vet techs, they get to play with animals all day. What a great job! I would love that. Talk to a vet tech about what real life is like in a vet clinic. Okay, so I'm getting on a tangent here, but so I just I don't I can't tell if a company cares, but I can tell if they're producing a product that really delivers what it's supposed to deliver. That's what I judge on. Okay. And so I think it's very unfair and kind of foolish that, well, if the company showed they cared. Now, Hills, right now, and Ed put it on here just yesterday, I think. Hills, they have worked with Humane Societies for years now. And we help supply food to the Humane Societies because of consistent food. They can spend money on other stuff, and these dogs get and cats get healthier looking quicker and can get adopted. Hills has been doing that for years. I mean, I think it's like 150,000 pets a day Hills feeds throughout the country through Humane Societies. But also because of our connection with Humane Societies, when there's a disaster, like with the fires now in California, we had fires here in Colorado a couple of years ago. I was a superstar because I would show up at staging areas, whether it was the shelter, it was even high schools where they were putting people, because they were displaced from their homes. And Hills had already delivered food to those high schools because people were coming in with their pets. So the rapid response team that Hills has is just amazing. So you've got the shelter program, you have the disaster program. I mean, Minnesota Urolith Center, veterinarians can send a stone sample. If your cat has urinary stones, they send it to the Minnesota Urolith Center, and it's free of charge for the veterinarian. You know why? Because Hills has been paying that since I could think around the 50s. Okay, because Dr. Mark Morris Sr. said, you know what? If we had one place collecting all the stone data, we would get a better understanding and get a handle on this. And Morris Animal Foundation would be another example. So there's so much money being spent. Hills just built a small breed, I think they call it small paws, their research facility in Topeka. They added on another wing. It was like $22 million or something to study small canine nutrition. They didn't have to do that. Show me another company out there that would spend that kind of money to do research on small breed canine nutrition. Tell me, your favorite brands that you love and you think they're so wonderful and they care so much. Where's their money going? I know Farmer's Dog spent what, it was $1 million or something on an ad in the Super Bowl. How much money have they spent in nutritional research? Who is it, Ollie or Nonnum? Somebody did a commercial that, the research shows if you keep your dog lean, they'll live 2.5 years longer. That was a Purina study. That was an excellent grade one. I think it was a 12-year study with a bunch of labs. And that's a Purina study. Oh, those big corporations that just want to rip people off. You see the difference? So caring, that's a tough. I look at what the company's doing and producing. I don't try to just watch a commercial where they say, "Oh, we love pets and are doing this." Okay, hope that makes some sense. By the way, many of the deficiencies that Dr. M mentioned, choline, zinc, etc., can be solved with the simple addition of eggs. Eggs are nutrient bombs, everything in there to grow a chick from scratch, no additions needed. And somebody else, very astute, commented on this, and I don't have it up here, so I should give them credit. But they were saying, well, wait a minute, it depends on the type of eggs. And of course, if you're adding I like the way he said this, a nutrient bomb, you're putting a nutrient bomb into a totally balanced diet. Well, guess what? Now you might be adding zinc, but now you might be adding too much zinc that's going to bind with calcium, or calcium that binds with zinc, or phosphorus, or manganese. You guys have seen that chart. If I find it, I'll throw it up here. There's a chart that shows all the different interrelationships, is there relationships between minerals and how they act on each other. So if you have you just decide you're going to throw a nutrient bomb in there, it's kind of funny the way he describes it. No, a nutrient bomb is not the way to go. Now, if it's placing this much zinc as a supplement to match everything else in the diet, yeah, that makes total sense. So he almost proves with that last comment there that, wait a minute, and the person that commented after, it was really key. This is why Dr. M is saying you don't just throw nutrient bombs. Oh, let me throw some meat in there because that has lots of amino acids. And let me throw some flaxseed because it has omega-3s. And let me throw some fish oil. Of course, fish oil is even better than flaxseed for EPA and all that. You're throwing it all in there and you have no chemist, no nutritionist, nobody, and you could actually be harming your pet. So I do appreciate the chef's position, and but this is why I will stand with home cooking. Maybe not for you. If it's your thing and you're going to do it right, and you're going to get with a board certified nutritionist and stay away from the celebrities on social media and the people selling you books that make you feel good, by all means, go for it. But for most of us, we're going to trust a company that's producing a finished product for it. And it is more convenient too, I have to admit. Okay. So that's it, folks. Please let me know in the comments if you like this, if you like me grabbing some of the great comments and responding that way. It's kind of like a live Q&A, but it's not live, right? But anyway, I think I'd enjoy doing this, and I think it would be another way to get the information out there. So please, those of you that are regulars, you know who you are. Let me know, is this something I should include in my list of videos? All right. Thanks. Y'all take care.